Okay, I will start this visiting lecture for today. It's day 2. So, yeah, good afternoon, and I express my profound gratitude for your esteemed presence. With a great honor, I stand before you to inaugurate our distinguished visiting lecture series. Before delving into the intellectual voyage, I certainly appreciate to all instrumental contributors, our deepest gratitude to University Poly Tech Malaysia, whose unwavering dedication orchestrated this momentous lecture series. In pursuing knowledge and idea exchange, we acknowledge the depth on to visionaries and institutions paving the way for such enriching experience. As we immerse ourselves in the discourse ahead, let us reflect our the collective commitment to intellectual exploration and boundless possibilities unfolding in the academia. Once again, a warm welcome, and I anticipate the enlightening discourse await us. Thank you for gracing with us with your presence and distinguished event. We are honored by the presence of Dr. Nathasya Kamal as a senior faculty business, accounting, and social science, a luminary of their field whose profound knowledge and extensive experience have left an indelible mark on the landscape of business, accounting, and social sciences. Dr. Nathasya privilege is future accountanted by gracious participation from the University Poly Tech Malaysia, which transcends geographical boundaries through the marvel of the technology. Today, we are beneficiaries of their infallible insight and testament to transformative power of connectivity. In the upcoming lecture, Dr. Nathasya will expound upon the intricate phase of the business storytelling, engage, influence, and inspire with your native. Their discourse in poised to be enlightening and thought-provoking and will sparing of information for our attendants. As we embark on this scholarly odyssey, I extend an earnest invitation from each of you for active participation. Utilize the chat or Q&A feature to post questions and engage the discussion, thereby augmenting and depth of our collective impression. The moderating of this interaction will be directly overseen through the lecture. In the spirit of intellectual engagement, I express gratitude for your presence and anticipate continually interactive and exciting experiences. So let's us extend a warm virtual welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Nathasya. We earnestly anticipate your enlightening lecture. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm round of virtual applause to welcome Dr. Nathasya to the stage. The floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yuan, for your introduction. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Right, Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to all the participants today. First of all, I would like to share my gratitude to the organizer for conducting this knowledge sharing this evening. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Nathasya binti Mohd Kamal. I am a senior lecturer in Faculty of Businesses, Accountancy and Social Sciences, University Poly Tech Malaysia. Okay, and my expertise is communication, specifically in interpersonal communication. So today, my topic will be business storytelling, engage, influence, and inspire with your narrative. So let me share you my slides first. Okay, can you guys see my slides? Okay, all right. Okay, so again, today I'm going to give knowledge sharing about business storytelling, engage, influence, and inspire with your narrative. So let's take a look at the structure of my talk today. So today I'm going to talk about, in the first part, I will talk about the art of business storytelling. And then I will talk about the elements of business storytelling and how to craft and deliver your business stories. And the last one is the application of business storytelling. So let's move on to the first part of this knowledge sharing. So what is actually a business storytelling? Okay, business storytelling is actually when we convey the message, when we try to inform our audience by using narrative. Okay, storytelling is a very powerful tool to convey information because somehow it makes the information more memorable and it can engage or it can make connection with our audiences. As we know, communication is very imperative in our life and in business setting as well. In a business setting, we have to communicate with various stakeholders such as our employee, our customers, investors, partners, government, to name a few. So by using narrative instead of we are giving or presenting data in a very dry and impersonal manner, storytelling somehow involves crafting narrative that can foster engagement and inspire and resonate with the listener. Right? Okay, so what are the aspects of storytelling? So there are few aspects of storytelling. So the first one is engagement. Okay, storytelling, as I mentioned before, this is a very powerful impact in order to capture attention and interest of your audiences. It can make the messages of complexity of the messages more relatable and more memorable. We as a human being are naturally drawn to the narrative. For example, when your friend gossiping or tell you some stories, we somehow can memorize the detail of the story. Why? Because we as a human being are drawn or attracted to stories. So this is the first one. The second one is communication. Okay? As mentioned, effective storytelling can convey important messages, important message information, whether it might be sharing vision, it might be explaining strategies, or describing the company's values, history. So with the proper tone, with a proper language, with a proper style, it somehow provides like enough context to the audience to understand more about what are your organization trying to communicate and feel that they can relate to this message, right? The third one is branding. Okay, not only it helps us to communicate, it also helps the organization to build brand and to enforce the identity of the organization with a unique narrative. Storytelling can provide an opportunity for a brand to communicate its unique selling point and distinguish them from their competitors, right? So mean to say that a good storytelling can differentiate us from our competitors. Why? Because it helps the brand to establish the identity and build trust. Okay, when the brand share more authentic, genuine stories about their origin, about their values, about their experiences, somehow it creates credibility and the credibility will be transformed into trust, right? Not only that, the storytelling can also extend beyond the traditional medium. Okay? Brand can create interactive storytelling experiences through social media, user-generated content, and increasing the audience engagement. Nowadays, we have a lot of mediums, interactive mediums such as we have TikTok, we have IG, we have website, we have YouTube, and to name a few. So this type of platform with a good storytelling, it helps the audiences to engage and to share the experiences with the organization. Again, it can then somehow helps the communication, helps the trust, helps to explain a more complex messages, right? And then the fourth one is sales and marketing. Okay, as we know, um, when we saw advertisement, somehow the advertisement shows some narrative. Okay, so in sales and marketing, narrative or storytelling is widely used by organizations. Why? Because again, it can help. Oh, sorry, it can help the organization to demonstrate the product and then to share the story about how the consumer or the audience can solve their problem and enhance their life by consuming the product and services by the organization, right? It also helps the organization to simplify the idea and using analogy and metaphor, right? Not only that, it makes the audience easier to memorize, to retain, or to recall about this information, right? Can you memorize any of um, advertisement that that you saw recently? Okay, put it in mind, put it in perspective, and you can ask yourself why you memorize that information or why you memorize that advertisement. Again, it might be because of their storytelling. It might be because of the way they communicate, the way the narrative relatable to you, right? It also can help to increase impression because of this narrative. Somehow we can relate with the narrative, so we will have longer or lasting discussion about the organization. Okay? So not only that, it also helps to address some concerns. Sometimes in the storyline itself, it addresses some concern of the potential customers might have. And then by presenting the solution in the narrative, it can help the sales team to preemptively address the concern and build up confidence about the organization, right? And then the fifth one is crisis management. Okay, during a crisis, effective storytelling can help to manage public relations because it can somehow mitigate the damages and it can somehow lessen or help to reinforce back the organization reputation, right? Because why? Because storytelling can help to humanize the situation. Somehow it can help the stakeholders to understand and be more empathy about the whole situation because sometimes when crisis happens, when we have a good storytelling or narrative, it can impact the emotion part. Sometimes it can impact the empathy, it can foster the compassion towards the crisis, right? Not only that, it also can demonstrate accountability. Why? Because when the crisis happens, organization will admit to the wrongdoing, right? And then um, they will explain about how what are they are going to do in order to overcome the issue. So in a way, it can help to build up accountability and trust amongst the stakeholders when you are using narrative during the crisis management. And the last one is data. Data analytics means that instead of we just present raw data about our company to the stakeholders, it is better for us to um, tell it in a very narrative way so that the data can be understandable and compelling. Because sometimes not all stakeholders can understand about the raw data. For me myself, I don't like numbers. So if you present me with numbers, table, and whatnot, I might be confused about what is going on with that. So when you tell the stakeholders, especially the non-experts, about your data, the raw data, into a storytelling, so it can help them to understand more. It can help them to retain the information and focus on the insight or the piece of data that matter the most. Because sometimes not all the raw data means something. Okay, sometimes with all the raw data, you might want to emphasize um, some key points. So with a storytelling, you can direct your audiences to know which one is the key point, which one is the highlight of that data. Okay, not only that, because of with all the data storytelling and whatnot, it also can help the organization to create a data-driven culture, whereby whenever we want to try to make decisions, we will based on the data and the data and the analytics storytelling to make the decision process. And so these are the six aspects why storytelling is somehow important lah in organization. Okay, let's move on to the science of storytelling. People might
Pardon
think,
me, excuse me, Dr. Nathasya. I'm so sorry to bother you. Can you be more loud because your voice is too small?
yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So if you cannot hear my voice, please let me know, yeah? All right. Can you hear it now?
Be more loud, please.
More louder. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, the second part is the science behind storytelling. Okay. So, people think that storytelling is just storytelling, but it's actually there's science behind it because how our brain react to the storytelling will help us to convey the message even more, right? So let's take a look at the science behind the storytelling and the what is the brain got to do with all the storytelling. Right. The first one is engagement and attention. Okay, for your information, storytelling, the design behind storytelling grounded in cognitive psychology, neuroscience, and communication studies. So there's a lot of elements there. Right. So let's take a look at the first one, engagement and attention. Right. So when we hear a story, our brain become more engaged and our focus is more directed into the narrative. This is due to there's a part in our brain, it calls the limbus system. Okay, so when the limbus system is activated, right, it somehow process the emotion part and it makes us engage during the storytelling. So the emotional content in the storytelling can be more profound and it can somehow have a more memorable impact towards the audience. It's because of the limbus system that I mentioned just now, right? So the next one is emotional connection. Right? In the part of emotional connection, sometimes when we um, watch stories, when you watch movies, when you watch advertisement and whatnot, sometimes it evokes emotion. It could be happy, it could be sad, it could be anger, fear, and whatnot. Okay. So when this emotion is evoked, it triggers to release neurochemicals such as oxytocin. Okay, we know that oxytocin is a hormone associated with trust and social bonding. So this psychological response helps to build up connection between the storyteller and the audiences because of the oxytocin involved. All right, the next one is memory and coding. Right, the brain is better at encoding and retaining information when it is presented in a narrative form. Why? Because there's a part in our brain named frontal cortex will be activated. So when the frontal cortex is activated, which it is associated with attention and focus. So well-crafted stories can capture and maintain audience attention and promote deeper engagement with the story. Okay. So that is the first three. And then the next one, we go to the cognitive processing. All right. So stories, normally narrative stories, normally they have structure. For example, it has a beginning, middle, and end. So because of the structure, it is easier for the brain to process because of the structure. We have the beginning of the story, we have the middle of the story, and then we have the end of the story. Right. So because of the structure, it stimulates our cognitive stimulation. So when the sensory is stimulated, so again, the audiences can imagine the scene described in the story because of the cognitive stimulation. Again, because people can imagine it, so somehow it helps the comprehension and the retention of the story, right? So somehow it helps us to understand even more because we can picture it because we can imagine it in our mind. Right. The next one is mirror neurons. Right. Mirror neurons happen or fire up when we perform an action and when we observe people perform the same action. Right. So in a storytelling context, somehow it helps the audiences to feel more empathy towards the character of the story. For example, if the character might feel happy, fear, or sad, and then the mirror neurons will fire up, and we also feel the same way as the character, as if we are experiencing the emotion ourselves. Okay, because of the mirror neurons. Sometimes when we watch movies, when we watch advertisement, when the actor is happy, we feel happy. When the actor is sad, we feel sad. When the actor feels angry, sometimes we also feel angry. Why? Because of the mirror neuron. Because sometimes our brain will experience the same as whatever that the other people are experiencing. Right. The next one is retention. Right. Retention means that because of it is presented, the data is presented in a narrative way, it helps us to recall, it helps to memorize even more because it um, it got to do with again one part of our brain called episodic memory. Okay, when this episodic memory is activated, so it will help us to recall and to retain all these personal experiences. And the last one is neural coupling, whereby research has shown that when a person tells a story and the listener is engaged, the brain activity is synchronized. Thus, it enhances the understanding and the connection with the individual. So these are the 7 brain activities that is happening when we are exposed to storytelling. So whenever you watch TV, whenever you hear the radio, whenever you read a story, so these are the things that is actually happens in our brain. So that's why, like I've mentioned just now, why we memorize certain storylines, why we memorize certain advertisements. Again, because of this processes that happen. So that's why in a business context, it's very important for us to make sure that our narrative can last or not only we deliver the message, but the message can be understood, the message can be recalled, the message can be memorized by our audiences. Alright, let's take a look at the next part. Right. So what are the elements of storytelling? Right. So I lay out several elements of storytelling. So the first one is audience understanding. So in order for us to give narrative or to lay out any storytelling or narration, first of all, we have to know our targeted audience. Because why? Because each targeted audience serves different needs, serve different interests, serve different preferences. So you have to know their understanding, their demographic profile, their value, their concern, in order for us to create a relevant storytelling. For example, might be your target audience are the Gen Z. So you have to know what are the Gen Z preference, what are their interests, what are their language, so that we can create, we can lay out suitable or impactful storyline or narrative for them, right? Each generation might have different preferences. The millennial and Gen Z might have different preferences. So that's why we have to understand our audience first. Okay, that is the first one. Right. The second one is clear message. Right. So every business must know what are the message takeaways. Means that at the end of the day, what are the things that you want people to memorize? What are the things that you want people to recall? So that must be clearly embedded in your storyline. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the message. What are the message that we want to convey to our targeted audience? So what are the main points, the gist of our storytelling? So it must have clear messages. Does you want to persuade people? Does you want to inform people? Does you want to have action? So what are the message that you want people to get at the end of your storytelling? Right. The next one is character development. Character development means that we have to create a relatable character. Okay, it might be your customer, it might be your employees, it might be your CEOs, okay? So we have to create a character that can help the audience to connect with the storyline. All right. The next one is conflict and challenges. Right. A good story telling or a good story must have conflict, must have challenges, must have obstacles that the character needs to overcome. Because why? It will create tension, it will create more dynamic to this storyline so that people will more engage, people are more intrigued to this storyline. Because whenever we saw movies, we want to know the climax, right? We want to know what are the most conflict in that storyline. So that's why in making a storyline, in making a narrative, we also must embed the obstacle and challenges that have to be overcome by the character. Right. The next one is emotion. Okay. Emotion here means that we have to engage with the audience emotion. In our storyline, we have to some sort of make sure that it can evoke the audience emotion. Emotion can be a lot of things. You can evoke the empathy, you can evoke the inspiration, you can evoke through humor, you can evoke through fear. So whatever emotion. So you have to make sure that your storyline can evoke emotion, because remember when we talk about the brain just now, so whenever emotion is the storyline invokes emotion, people can relate more, okay, because of the emotion. All right, the next one is visual. Right. So in the visual part, we have to consider to use image, or visual to help the audience visualize the story. Okay, sometimes we try to make videos, or maybe if you want to make a written narrative, then you can add on pictures, you can add on data, tables, statistics to help your audience visualize your narrative. Okay, and then the next one is structure. Structure means that later on we will take a look at the techniques of structuring a storytelling. So in storytelling, normally we will have three major structures: the beginning, the middle, and the end. Again, for what? Because of the cognitive processes that we've mentioned earlier, so that people can um, understand easily with the structure of the storytelling. And the last one is call to action. Call to action means that every storytelling must have their purpose. Okay, so what are the purpose of your storytelling? You want to persuade people, you want to motivate people, you want to inspire people. So in your storytelling, you have to include what you want your audience to do next. For example, in your storytelling, at the end of your storytelling, maybe you ask them to follow your IG. You ask them to enroll in your program. You ask them to buy your product. So you have to mention call to action. What are the behavior that you want them to take action after they watch the storytelling? Just so they know. After they watch the storytelling, they know what they want going to do. Are they going to subscribe you? Are they going to go to the store and buy your product? So it is very important to include the call for action. If not, people after they saw your narrative, your storytelling, and then they do not know what to do next, right? So it is important for us to tell the audience what we want them to do, right? Okay, so that is the elements of storytelling. Okay. Let's move on to the medium. Okay. Not only storytelling, the structure itself is important, the medium is also important. Because why? Because without a proper medium, your storytelling would not reach your targeted audience. For example, your targeted audience might be Gen Z, and then you choose written form or printed medium. So it might not get to the Gen Z because researcher mentioned that Gen Z are more interested in visual. They like something more visualized. That's why TikTok is very famous amongst the Gen Z because that is their preferences. So we have to know what are the right mediums to convey our message. So how we are going to choose the right medium? What are the things that we have to consider? Okay, the first one is audience preferences. Okay, like I've mentioned just now, you have to know your targeted audience. You have to know who are your intended audience. What are their media consumeration? What are the medium that your audience consume? Okay, so that is the first one. The next one is interactivity. Okay. For example, if your storytelling needs the audience to interact with you or to engage with you, so you have to choose medium that allows that. For example, might be apps, websites, or virtual reality experiences. So you have to choose a medium that allows people to interact if your narrative relates to the interactivity part. Okay. The next one is visual appeal. The visual appeals, like I've mentioned just now, we have to consider the visual elements. For example, videos, animation, graphics, infographic, data visualization that might help the audiences to visualize, to imagine your storyline. Okay, so again, we have to select proper medium that suits our storyline. that can project the visual part. And then the next one is emotional impact. Emotional impact means that sometimes it depends on the medium. Sometimes there's a medium that can evoke more emotion than other mediums. For example, if you are using broadcast, so you can include music, you can include you can include videos, you can include a lot of things that can help to evoke the emotion part. So again, if your storytelling involves the emotion part, use medium that can allow that, right? And then the next one is brand consistency. This one is depending on your brand, depending on the message of your brand. So whatever channel that you choose must consistent with your brand identity. And the next one is the length of story. If your story is short, maybe you can choose social media platform like TikTok or maybe your website. If your narrative is quite long, maybe you can choose articles, you can choose YouTube channel as your medium. So it depending on the length of your story. Sometimes company will do series or what we call webisodes. It's a series of impactful stories. All right, the next one is budget and resources. This one is all come back to the organization budget and resources. Sometimes the organization wants to dream big, but they do not have the budget and resources to do so because storytelling require financial investment. It requires special skill to implement the storytelling part. For example, if you are using broadcast, you might need to invest in the airtime or space to buy the space or airtime in the media outlet. So it require budget and resources. So it all come back to the organization budget and resources. And the last one is the nature of the story. So you have to decide the nature of your story. Sometimes some story can be best projected in video form. Some story can be best projected in written form. So it depends on the nature of the story itself. So these are the things that we have to consider when we choose medium for our storytelling. Okay, moving on to the techniques. Okay, so what are the techniques that can be used in order to craft your storytelling? So here I lay out 3 techniques that normally being used in order to craft the storytelling. So the first one, the hero's journey. Okay, the hero's journey is a framework or narrative that involves protagonists or heroes. Sometimes it can be your customer, it can be your client who faces challenges and overcome the obstacle and then achieve success. So that's what we call the hero journey. So in hero journeys, there are six stages. The first one is call for adventure, whereby in this stage, the hero will introduce the problem that they are facing. Okay? And then the second one would be the journey begin, whereby in this stage, the organization will start to introduce the product or the services to help to address the challenges faced by the hero just now. And then the third one would be challenges and obstacles. What are the highlights and obstacles that encountered by the heroes while implementing the solution? So in here, it will build up some tension or climax and whatnot. And then the next one, the fourth stage is the transformation, whereby the product or the services help the hero to overcome the challenges. And the fifth one is the return, whereby the storyline will showcase about the positive outcome and the result achieved by the hero through the product and services. And the last one is the celebration, whereby the story will celebrate the success of the hero. So these are the 6 steps. Again, introduction, and then the second one would be the introduction of the product, and then the challenges and obstacles, the transformation, the return, and the celebration. These are the first hero's journey stages. The second one is the 3 act structure. So basically, the 3 act structure and the hero's journey is kind of similar. Uh, it's just that in 3 act structure, there's only 3 structures. The first act is the setup. The setup means that here, same just the hero journey. The hero will be introduced, and then will be um, will be mentioning about the problems, the obstacles. Okay, and then the second part will be the confrontation, whereby the conflict will develop. The climax part in the action here and in the hero journey, the climax part will be in the fourth stage. But here in 3 act structure, the climax will be in the second stage. Okay, and then the development of the character, and the last stage is the resolution, whereby the um the obstacle will be overcome, and it will be um how do I say it will the conflict will resolve. Okay, so that is the 3 act structure, right? The last one is the emotion appeal. So again, like I've mentioned just now, it's very important for the organization to evoke emotion. Again, what types of emotion? There's a lot of emotion. It could be empathy. Okay, so in empathy, the organization can highlight the struggle or the challenges. Okay, for example, the line would be, imagine the frustration of being a small business owner. So the word imagine the frustration, it can evoke the empathy part, because somehow whoever that are facing frustration being a small business owner can relate to that storyline. Okay, that is the first example. And then the second one, you can evoke aspiration. Aspiration means that you can appeal to the dreams of the audience. For example, you can start your storyline with every entrepreneur dream of their business thrive. So the word every entrepreneur dream. So you can evoke aspiration, evoke, show that your organization, your product can help them to achieve their goal. Okay, the second one is, the third one is hope. Okay, hope means that it can provide some hope and optimism. Sometimes it can help the audiences to have positive change and inspiring the audience to believe in a better future. For example, you can start your line with, in a world of uncertainty, our mission is to be the hope of businesses seeking and stability growth. So the words of our, in the world of uncertainty, our mission is to build hope for businesses. So somehow it gives optimism, it gives hope to the audience. And then the next one is pride and accomplishment. This one you can evoke emotion by sharing the achievement or milestone. And then fear, the next is fear and solution. This one you can evoke by presenting fear. For example, you can mention about the fear of data breach can keep any business owner at night. So the fear elements there. Okay, and then you can also evoke sense of belonging. You can foster some of connection, inclusivity amongst your audiences. For example, you can mention join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs. So the word join a community. So when people hear about it, they will feel that you and your organization and the audience are on the same boat. Okay. And then the next one is nostalgia. Nostalgia means that you can create some sentimental connection by recalling simple time and showcase brands that evoke over the years. For example, you can use the terms remember the days when the business has challenges. So some sort of it will give some sort of nostalgic memory um, towards the audience. Okay. And then the last one is gratitude. You can express your gratitude and appreciation towards your audience. So these are some of the examples that can be used in order to use emotion appeal technique. All right. All right. The application of business storytelling. So why it's important for us to know about this business storytelling? What is some intent about this business storytelling? So in business storytelling, brand building, marketing, advertising, and product launch and services is pretty much the same. It means that with the storytelling, it helps us to communicate about the values of the company. It helps us to share stories about the customers and build credibility. It helps us to illustrate how the product meets the needs of potential customers. It helps us to attract potential investors, okay, to invest in your company. Okay, and then the next one, it also can help internal communication. How it can help internal communication? With using storytelling, it can help to communicate achievements, challenges, and then it can some sort of give your employees some sort of motivation about their company. When they heard about the challenges and how the company overcome challenges, some sort of it will give motivation to the employees. Sorry. Okay, and then the next one is leadership communication. It means that leader leading by example. It means that leader can again tell storytelling to articulate their mission, to articulate their vision of the organization and inspire their team. And then again, some same just like internal communication, it's some sort of motivation to the employees. And then the next one is crisis communication. Like we discussed earlier, during crisis, use storytelling can help to communicate transparency, address concern, and rebuild trust. It also can demonstrate genuine remorse and commitment towards the correction action. And customer engagement and loyalty by using storytelling in blog, social media, and other content. Somehow it can engage and retain your customers, and it can help to have two-way communication with your customers. And then the last one is recruitment and employee branding. It means that it can help the organization to introduce company culture story. It helps the customers to introduce the new hire to the company throughout stories to amplify their values and norms. Okay, so these are the examples or the example I laid out an example of a storyline, a story, how to construct a story, a storytelling. So this is the example of the technique of three structured, three act structured just now. Okay, there will be a beginning, introduction, and then middle, the conflict, the challenges. Okay, what are the things that you want to highlight, and then the end, the conclusion, right? So in the part of conclusion, you have to again memorize that at the end of the day, we have to know what are the key message of our storyline. So what are the takeaways of our storyline? So we have to emphasize on that. All right. So these are the examples of constructing a simple storytelling. Okay. So yeah. So in conclusion, storytelling is some sort of important, not only in our life but in a business setting as well, because as a business we have to communicate with our stakeholders. So how we are going to make sure that our communication is received by the stakeholders? How do we want to make sure that our message can be conveyed memorable in more impactful way? One of it is the storytelling narrative style, right? So I hope that this session can give you a bit of ideas about how storytelling works in a business setting. And yeah, I open the floor for any question if you have any.
All right. Your presentation is done, Dr. Nathasya?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So thank you to Dr. Natasha for that enlightening and engaging presentation. We are now transitioning into the question and answer Q&A session where we can further explore our distinguished guest speaker insight and knowledge. Thank you for the audience for your active engagement during the enlightening visiting lecture online with your esteemed your co-speaker, Dr. Natasha. I hope you have found the lecture to be both informative and inspiring. It's time to open the floor for our question and answer session. This is your opportunity to interact directly with our guest speaker and delve deeper into the topic of businesses storytelling, engage, influence, and inspire with your narrative. If you have any question for the speaker, please add them to the chat or you can raise your hand. Okay, I think we have a first question. We already have a question. This is from Rendra. Miss Natasha, are you ready? Okay, I will read the question. What are the key principles and strategies in business storytelling that can effectively engage, influence, and inspire an audience with their narrative?
So thank you for the question. Okay, like we discussed earlier just now, what are the key elements to a very effective storytelling? The first one is the structure of the story itself. So we have to make sure that the structure of the story can be easily understood by our audiences. And the second one, we have to make sure that the message is clear. It means that you have to know what are the message, what are the key message that you want to emphasize in the storytelling itself. And then again, the emotion part. So in order for us to make sure that the storytelling is effective, we have to convey some sort of emotion. Any emotion that we discussed just now. So as long as you have a good structure, you know your key messages, and the storyline is embedded with emotion, then I believe that a storyline can be very impactful towards any of your stakeholders.
All right, thank you, Dr. Natasha. So now we are going to be. I will read the second question. Okay. How can businesses harness the power of storytelling to not only engage their audience, but also influence and inspire them? And what are the essential elements that contribute to compelling narrative in the business context? So um it's gonna be two question. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question just now?
Ok-
Sorry.
Okay, okay, I will repeat it. How can businesses harness the power of storytelling to not only engage their audience, but also influence and inspire them? And the second question is, what are the essential elements that contribute to compelling narrative in the business context?
Okay, thank you. Right, so I will be answering the first question. So again, how we are going to influence, not only influence, but inspire your stakeholders. So again, the elements of a storytelling is character development. So we have to build up a character that can be can be more how do I say, the audience can relate the most to that character. Okay, for example, your character might be your CEO. So not only you will influence them, but you can inspire them. For example, your storytelling is about the success of your CEO, the struggle and the obstacle that um, they face during the business journey and whatnot. So it is important to build up a character that people can look up to. Not just a petty character that people cannot relate or cannot respect. So in order for us to inspire people, we have to build up a character that people can look up to. Okay, again, choose wisely about your character. Yeah, maybe you can develop a character that is goofy and whatnot, but if your strategy is to inspire, your character development must align with your objective. So if your objective is to inspire, so you have to build up a character that people can look up to. Okay, that is the first answer. All right. So the second one is what is the essential, right? Essential for storytelling. Again, it's all depending on the objective, the mission, and the vision of the organization. How they are going to convey the message, how they are going to construct their message. Storytelling just helps them to convey the message. It is one of the techniques that used to convey the message. At the end of the day, it's all about conveying your message. But how you are going to convey your message? One of it is by using storytelling. Sometimes organizations do not take this as a serious matter. Sometimes they just convey the message through memos, through bulletin. There's no storytelling um, and in conveying the message. It's okay. It's not wrong. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, in order for us to engage more, in order for us to like we discussed earlier, for people to memorize, to retain, to recall our message, it is important for us to create a narrative for them on their behalf. Because whenever we convey the message, they will create the narrative on their own. Okay? So if we lay out the narrative for them, so it's easier for them to understand even more.
Okay. Okay. It has question for the third question. How can business strategically utilize storytelling to change engagement, influence stakeholder, and inspire action? And then what are the key components of compelling narrative that contribute to effective communication and connection with the audience?
Okay? I think again about the elements, I think we just discussed this now. Okay, the elements of story development, the character development, about the emotion part, about the structure. So these are the elements that need to be in a storyline, so that whatever your storyline might be, whatever your narrative might be, it can resonate more to your listeners. So it doesn't matter what are the storylines. Um, if the storyline consists of all the elements that we've mentioned just earlier, the character development, the emotion, the structures, and then the cognitive part, the message, the clear message. So the right medium, so it can help the organization to tell their information through the narrative story.
All right. Um, so this is have another question, but this is from the YouTube. This comment section from YouTube. This from Diarahmi. Is this the business of the storytelling could be influenced and also could be changed their mood before? For the first time, the word for telling the story become how to get the followers and the payment.
Can you paraphrase that question? What does it
Uh,
mean? Payment?
I don't really know. Wait a minute.
Okay, if you're talking about the change of mood, yes, definitely. A story can change people's mood, right? For example, if I project you and sad story, of course, suddenly you will feel sad. And if I project you a story that is happy, of course, we will feel happy. So stories will influence our mood, right? In a way, it will help us to connect with the audience mood. So, what are the moods that we want the audience to feel? It depends on our storyline. See, um, if we want them to feel happy, then our storyline should be happy storyline. If we want them to feel sad, to feel fear, our storyline should be fear. Okay, so that's why whenever we watch drama, we watch films, we watch advertisements, sometimes the advertisement can evoke our emotion. When we watch advertisements, sometimes we feel sad, sometimes we feel excited, sometimes we feel angry. Why? Because again, storytelling evokes emotion. Storytelling, how the brain works that we mentioned just earlier. Storytelling can activate our brain cells to feel some sort of mood depending on the storytelling or the narrative.
All right. Is there any question? Maybe if you guys have any question, please comment down below. And then if you want to talk with our guest speaker, Dr. Nathasya, you can raise your hand and then ask your question, guys. Okay, Dr. Nathasya, I think the question is already end. There's nothing left to question. So now it's time for the documentation. As we conclude this intellectually encouraging lecture, let us immortalize this occasion through a collective photograph. Prepare to strike a pose adored with your most radiant smile and eye comments in the screenshot process. I will initiate the photo capture on the count of three, and then we'll preserve this moment for the posterity. Uh, Please turn on your camera and then make a beautiful smile. All right, I will count. Three, two, one. Another. Three, two, one. All right, credited for to all of your dynamic participation and enthusiasm. This capture moment shall endure as a transcript of this extraordinary webinar. Now, as we draw the curtain of intellectually stimulating virtual lecture series, I thank each participant for their dynamic involvement, unwavering engagement, and palpable enthusiasm through this enlightening affair. My profound appreciation is directed toward our distinguished speaker, Dr. Nathasya. Your erudition, deep insight, and generous knowledge sharing have enriched our intellectual discourse. We stand greatly privileged to have had you grace with your expertise. A, a depth of thanks is also owed to the participant whose increasing queries and contribution during the question and answer Q&A segment have independently contributed to the term of this event. Moreover, such success would have been inevitable with the unwavering effort of our event organizer, sponsor, and technical support team operating directly behind the scene. Your dedication and hard-won effort have not gone unnoticed and are significantly acknowledged. Concluding today's virtual lecture series, I urge you to perpetuate the dialogue and networking initiated on this virtual platform. The knowledge and perspective gleaned here should serve as a springboard for continued exploiting and collaborative endeavors. Please remain connected with us for forthcoming events and opportunities. Your presence is unavailable, and we earnestly anticipate your participation in our future undertakings. And once again, profound thanks for your participation and this intellectually stimulating experience. I wish you an exceptional day ahead and take a good care. Farewell, and then I anticipate our next force in subsequent scholarly pursuit. Thank you so much for joining us today. We can um, we can enjoy it together during the presentation of Dr. Nathasya. Um, we will meet tomorrow to the day 3 of Visit Lecture series. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Nathasya.
Thank you, Dr. Nathasya.